For years, some of the heaviest trucks on British roads were never built in Britain at all. They came from a factory in Chicago. You would see them dragging tanks down the road, pulling fairground rides, or sitting outside a garage, waiting for the next big recovery job. Drivers called the brand behind them the Cadillac of Trucks. These machines were built so well that men paid extra money just to own one. Then the name began to fade. The factory shut its doors. The badge vanished from new trucks for good. This is the story of how Diamond T climbed to the top of the truck world and how one of America's proudest names quietly disappeared. It all starts back in 1905. A young man named Charles Tilt set up a small company in Chicago, but he did not start out building trucks. He built cars. Big, fast touring cars that cost a lot of money. Some sold for more than $5,000, which was a fortune in those days. Only the rich could afford one. The name came from his family. Tilt's father made shoes, and his best shoes carried a special mark. It was a diamond with the letter T inside it. The diamond stood for quality. The T stood for Tilt. Charles liked that little badge so much that he put it on his own machines. From the very start, that diamond was a promise. It told a buyer he was getting something better than the rest. For a few years, the cars sold well enough. But the real turning point came in 1911. A customer asked Tilt to build him a truck. Tilt agreed, and the truck worked so well that more orders followed. He looked at the numbers and made a choice that changed everything. He dropped cars completely and threw all his effort into trucks. It turned out to be one of the smartest moves in American truck history. Word spread fast. A Diamond T was tough, it was reliable, and it was put together with better parts than most. Tilt did not cut corners. He bought strong engines and solid axles and built his trucks to last. By 1915, the company was no longer just a Chicago name. Dealers were selling Diamond T trucks right across the country. Then came the First World War. The army needed trucks, and it needed them quickly. Diamond T answered the call and built around 1,500 heavy trucks for the war effort. These were big 3 to 5 ton machines, and they held up so well under hard use that the army came straight back and ordered thousands more. Soldiers learned they could trust the name. That trust would matter even more a few decades later. By the time the war ended, Diamond T had grown from a small workshop into a respected brand with dealers all over the map. But Charles Tilt was not happy just building good trucks. He wanted to build beautiful ones too. This is where Diamond T became something special. Back then, most trucks were plain. They were tools and nothing more. Square, grey and frankly ugly. Tilt could not stand that idea. He once said a truck did not have to be homely was simple. A working truck could still look good. So his trucks got long, flowing fenders. They got bold grills that looked like they belonged on an expensive motor car. They got shiny chrome trim that caught the light. Inside, the cabs were nicer too. One model even came with an electric clock and a fancy built-in lighter. These were small touches, but no other truck maker bothered with them. It was not just for show, though. Under all that style sat real strength. The frames were heavy and tough. The brakes were modern. The axles were built to carry serious weight for years. So a Diamond T looked good and worked hard at the same time. People noticed. They started calling Diamond T the Cadillac of Trucks, and the name stuck for good. Owning one said something about you. It said you cared about quality, and you were willing to pay for it. And pay they did. A Diamond T pickup cost around $500 more than a similar truck from the big American brands. That was real money. Yet plenty of drivers happily handed it over, because they wanted the badge and the pride that came with it. The company's best year was 1936. That year, nearly 9,000 new Diamond T trucks hit the road. The firm was riding high, loved by drivers and feared by rivals. Things could not have looked better. Then the world went to war again, and Diamond T's finest hour was about to arrive. When the Second World War broke out, armies needed heavy trucks more than ever before, and Diamond T was ready. Between 1940 and 1945, the company built just over 50,000 vehicles for the military. More than 30,000 of those were a single type. It was a 4-ton, 6-wheel drive truck that could haul heavy loads across mud, sand, and deep snow. It served in every corner of the war, from the deserts to the front lines. Soldiers loved it because it almost never let them down. The company also turned out more than 10,000 half-tracks, those tough machines with wheels at the front and tank tracks at the back. But the most famous Diamond T of the whole war was something far bigger. It was a giant tank transporter. Britain needed a machine strong enough to drag its heavy tanks off the battlefield. So in 1940, British officers came across the ocean to America looking for one. Diamond T had the answer. The result was a huge truck paired with a long trailer, strong enough to carry a battle tank weighing more than 30 tons. Britain took around 1,000 of them, and here is the part British drivers will remember most. After the war, those huge Diamond T transporters did not just vanish. Heavy haulage firms snapped them up. Famous British names like Pickford's and Wynn's put them straight to work, dragging enormous loads up and down the nation's roads. A handful were still serving in army units as late as 1971. For older viewers, that big Diamond T grille was a familiar sight for many, many years. The war turned Diamond T into a legend. But peace would bring a problem the company never saw coming. After the war, life changed fast. The big American car makers, Ford and Chevrolet, turned their full attention to pickups. They built them cheaply, sold them in huge numbers, and undercut almost everyone. Diamond T was caught out. Its trucks were better made, but they were also dearer to buy. And most buyers no longer wanted to pay extra. They wanted cheap and simple, and the big brands gave them exactly that. The very thing that once made Diamond T special, that promise of quality at a higher price, was now working against it. So the company slowly backed away from the light pickup market it had once ruled. It went back to building big, heavy trucks instead. That kept the lights on for a while, but the truck world was shifting in other ways too. Larger firms were swallowing up smaller ones. Building trucks was getting more and more costly. A medium-sized maker like Diamond T was stuck in the middle. It was too small to win a price war and too proud to build something cheap and plain. The diamond badge still meant quality. But quality on its own was no longer enough to survive. In 1958, the end began. A much larger firm, the White Motor Company, bought Diamond T. At first the name carried on as before, but behind the scenes, things were never the same again. The work was eventually moved out of Chicago, the city where it had all started, to a plant in Michigan. Specifically, White relocated production to Lansing, dropping Diamond T right into the massive factory of the REO Motor Car Company, another struggling rival that White had swallowed up just a year earlier. Forced to share the same assembly lines, the distinct identity of a Diamond T quickly eroded. The heavy, sweeping steel fenders and custom luxury trims were gradually swapped out for generic, cost-saving fiberglass tilt hoods and standardized white cabs. While they still offered powerhouse heavy-duty engines from Cummins and Detroit Diesel, the bespoke soul of the trucks had been stripped away to satisfy corporate accountants. Step by step, the trucks lost the things that once set them apart. They began sharing more and more parts with other brands owned by the same company. Bit by bit, a Diamond T was becoming a Diamond T in name only. Then came the final blow. In 1966, the last Diamond T trucks rolled off the line. Over more than 50 years, around 250,000 trucks had worn that diamond badge. Now there would be no more. The very next year, the name was folded in with another old brand to create something called Diamond Rio. The proud old name from Chicago was gone. There was no big crash and no dramatic headline. One of America's most respected truck makers simply faded out quietly, the way a candle burns down to nothing. Even this combined effort could not survive the brutal economics of the 1970s. In late 1974, Diamond Rio filed for bankruptcy, officially closing its factory doors the following year and burying the final traces of Charles Tilt's automotive lineage for good. But this is not quite where the story ends. A funny thing happened after Diamond T disappeared. People started to miss it. Today, those old trucks are worth real money. A good one can sell for tens of thousands of pounds, and the rarest examples go for far more than that. Collectors hunt them down, restore them by hand, and show them off with pride. The same style and quality that once cost buyers extra is now the exact reason these trucks are so wanted. Today, organisations like the American Truck Historical Society feature the brand heavily at massive conventions, where restored models often steal the show. Enthusiasts obsess over the exact factory details that originally made them famous: the polished stainless steel windshield surrounds, the distinctive two-piece split glass, and the iconic chrome diamond hood ornaments that proudly guided the way. Here in Britain, you can still find those mighty model 980 and 981 wartime transporters at classic vehicle shows. Polished up and gleaming, they pull a crowd every single time. For many older drivers, just seeing one fires up memories of a whole different age of haulage. Charles Tilt believed a truck did not have to be plain and ugly. He believed a hard-working machine could have pride and beauty built right into it. The company he started is long gone now, but every time one of those old trucks rumbles to life and that diamond badge catches the light, his idea is still very much alive. That was the rise and fall of Diamond T, the Cadillac of Trucks.